Today in my podcast, I have a very special guest. He works as a CEO in credit union and talking about his hobbies, I have a list. He likes to play golf, play drum, he goes to gym, reading, cooking, driving, gardening and skiing. Let's welcome today's guest, John Kelly. Welcome, John,
Laura,
to my podcast.
hi.
Hi, good to see you.
You good to see you too, Priya.
I want to know your thoughts that why it is important to pursue hobbies.
Yeah, as you know, you're musical. I like music, there's so many different kinds of music. So it always challenges us to say, okay, well, how would I learn to do that style of music? So like I'm a drummer. Well, there's a lot of different types of drumming, right? So, are we talking Latin percussion? We talking African percussion? We talking swing music? We talking rock and roll? Church gospel music. So a lot of different styles. But I think it's good to challenge us to keep up and learn new things. That's just one example. Maybe you could use an example of cooking, right? Lots of different types of foods that you can cook, different ingredients. Some recipes take longer, some are shorter, but right, it's fun. It's fun to try new things. Maybe it doesn't come out exactly the way you thought. So you say, okay, well, next time I'll do something a little different. But I think variety is a good thing in our lives, keeps us from being boring. I think it keeps us interested.
At times it happens that the hobby becomes a distraction. How to make sure that hobbies do not become a distraction?
Well, I think you need planning in your life, right? So you need to plan out, how much time this week am I going to set aside for hobbies, things that I enjoy doing. But some weeks maybe aren't as busy as others. Maybe you're more productive some weeks than you are others. But I think, again, you and I have talked about balance, and I keep a balance. So I'll just somebody that likes to play soccer and they get passionate about it. Pretty soon they're spending practicing their soccer because they want to play in the World Premier League and, they want to be the next, Pele. Well, okay, great. It's fine to improve your skills, want to get better. And, again, just keep a balance. Maybe we say, all right, over the next month, I'm going to go to the gym and get in better shape. I'm going to practice my dribbling skills, something you could even do in the house, right? As far as soccer goes, I could watch some videos on better techniques, better strategy. But again, how do I work that in with the things that are most important? So there's my work. Say if you have a family, that needs to be important, right? If you have children, spending time with your kids. Soccer then would need to fall down lower. Maybe it's a number 4 or 5.
We say that follow your passion, make your passion your work. There's some kind of confusion in today's youngsters that they want to make their hobbies as they for their living.
Well, I don't think there's anything wrong with trying to make a living doing something you enjoy and you're passionate about. Let's say singing. If you're blessed enough that you're a good enough singer and entertainer that a recording studio wants to sign you and they want to promote you, maybe you'll be the next Beyonce. You never know, right? I mean, it could happen, but I think you also have to be realistic. So in other words, yeah, practice your dancing and practice your singing and, go and maybe try out on America's Got Talent and see if you can make it,
Right.
But you also have to be realistic and know that there's only a small percentage that are going to make it. Not everybody's going to be as fortunate as Beyonce. Sure, there's
Right.
other talented people out there, but for some reason they didn't make the cut. Maybe the day that they were supposed to sing their song, their voice was flat. They were
Yes.
hoarse. They got nervous and they just didn't perform well. It happens. So what do you do? I mean, it doesn't mean you should just stop
Correct.
having a passion for music, but then you better think about, so what's my backup plan? As happens in athletics all the time. I went to college on track and cross country scholarship. great. But, was I going to be good enough at it to make a living, to win a gold medal in the Olympics? Chances are not real good. So I also needed to study and get an education so that I could get a job in business, which is what my degree was in. So doesn't mean that I should just say, well, since I'm not going to win a gold medal in the Olympics, then I shouldn't pursue that hobby. I mean, you can still continue to do things that you enjoy and are passionate about, but you also have to realize it's only the small few that are going to be fortunate enough to become professional at it. Yes, it happens, but for every one that you read about that it does make it, there's thousands that tried and didn't. Doesn't mean they're a failure. They at least tried, they pursued it, but they have to have a backup plan. So now what am I going to do?
Yeah, so basically, one should keep trying, but should also have a backup plan and should not get distracted and have a clear thoughts about it to be realistic in life. I think that's a great message. There are some people that that do not know what are their hobbies. They don't know. They don't have any answer to the question. If someone asks that, "What are your hobbies?" They don't know. They just want to go to their work, come back home and eat and sleep, watch TV, spend time with family. So, is there any wrong? Do you see anything wrong in this type of lifestyle?
No, not necessarily. I just think, to me personally, that would be boring. I think I'd be missing out on a lot of things if that was the life I chose. But I also know, I think we need to be careful about judging other people and, what makes them tick. Maybe they just don't get too excited about singing and music. Maybe they don't get excited about, exercising, playing sports, whatever hobbies you want to talk about. Maybe they don't like going out. Maybe that's not something they like to do, or trying different types of foods. And that's okay. I think most of us would say that's kind of boring, but the way I look at it is they're going to work, they're taking care of their family, and that's enough for them. Well, okay, fine. At least they're covering the most important things. They're not neglecting their family. They're not failing to be productive in society. For me personally, and I think for you, just knowing you, we would say, you're missing out on a lot living that type of lifestyle. So, again, being careful not to pass judgment on other people, as long as they're not doing something immoral or illegal, then, I think, different strokes for different folks. But, me personally, I've got too much energy, too much curiosity about life. I would be bored if I did that. I mean, I've got some weeks, maybe I'm tired or whatever, and I don't spend as much time maybe pursuing other hobbies. But for the most part, I'm listening to music, I'm practicing my drums, I'm exercising, I'm doing whatever, trying a new type of meal, going to watch a movie with my wife, whatever it is, some type of hobby that keeps me busy. But that's just me.
So, if someone does not have any hobby, it's just okay.
Yes.
So, but hobbies do add a lot of fun in life. So, are they not missing that fun?
I think they are. I mean, that's my just personal opinion about it. I think that, when people get out of their shell and try different things, I think that, does bring more fun to their life. I think of my son, Priya, that is, has special needs, and he tends to like to just do the same thing. Routine's important to him, and he doesn't really like to go out and, socialize and do all the stuff. And does that mean it's wrong? No, not for him. It doesn't. He's content, go to work, come home, kind of eat the same thing, do whatever. And that's all right. But, I think at least for me and for you, we find enjoyment in doing other things. We find that stimulating and challenging, keeps our life interesting. So I would say personally that, I almost feel bad for people like that, right? That they're missing out, but it's my life perspective. It's how I look at it,
I'm sure there must be people who look up to you and they find that you are involved in so many interesting activities. They also want to do that, but they feel that they don't have any hobby. But they can find some hobby. They can think of some other things that they like to do in life, something like teaching maths.
Well, I think it's great. If they have a passion to coach, teach others, that's a wonderful thing. I think it's a good thing to give to others. I think, that's a good life principle to have. Be willing to share what you have with others. And that can be in a lot of different ways. If you're blessed with being good at math, a lot of people struggle with it. Tutor, help other people. There's nothing wrong with that. You like to sing, maybe you meet some young girl that she says, hey, I really like to sing. Can you help me? Can you teach me? That's not a bad thing. Somebody comes to me and says, hey, I'd like to learn to play the drums. How would I go about it? Can you teach me some things? What should I do? Nothing wrong with that. I think it's all a good thing. And again, I'm a big believer in balance, and you and I have talked about that too, right? So we have to keep balance in our lives. And so, I don't think you can go 180 degrees into just hobbies all the time and then neglect your job, neglect your family, and it can happen. I've seen it happen with somebody pursuing, let's just use skiing as an example. Well, there's nothing wrong with skiing, but it's expensive, takes a lot of time. So if I got passionate about skiing and I was going skiing all the time, but I wasn't paying attention to my work, wasn't paying attention to my family, I think that's not good, right? That's being out of balance. So somehow you have to keep that in perspective. There's going to be times in your life you have young kids, you're busy at work, your hobbies are going to have to drop in priority. Doesn't mean that you never get back to them. You just can't spend as much time right now doing that. That's not a bad thing, because again, we're in balance. We're saying, all right, what do I really need to focus on this next week, this next month, whatever it is. And we all set goals, right? So whatever goals you set, now you have to be flexible in those, right? So COVID came around, right? So it changed a lot of people's goals. It required us to be flexible and say, hey, maybe I can't do some of the things I used to do. But yeah, it doesn't mean you never are going to do them. You just have to kind of put them to the side and maybe do something else, right? In other words, maybe now we have to use Zoom or WebEx and other ways, FaceTime, to communicate, because we can't travel as much and we can't be around people as much. But that's okay. We find other ways.
Generally, we consider that sports or gardening or music and these things as hobby. But I want to tell people through this podcast that you can also think of other things that you like. For example, teaching maths or meditation. You can consider as hobby as well and do that. Yeah, I mean, and when someone asks that, what's your hobby? They can proudly say that I like to do this. I'm following my hobby of teaching.
That's right. Yes, I agree, Priya.
As you have so many hobbies, I want to ask you, how do you find time for pursuing all these hobbies, and how do you manage with your work?
Well, get up early, get your day started early. Kind of, you talked about meditation, focusing on the spiritual part of our being. For me, that's the quiet time in the morning, because I know if I don't do it then, it's probably not going to happen the rest of the day. I try at least 3 times a week to find 45 minutes to exercise on my lunch break. And believe me, it's easy to say, oh, I'll skip it. I'll just go have a Big Mac instead, because that would be easier, right? And maybe it's okay to do that sometimes. But again, discipline, right? Life takes discipline. So we have to say, all right, I'm going to be disciplined, even though maybe I'm not really feeling it today. Maybe it's not going to be a full exertion workout, but I'm going to do something. So again, and then when we're done with our day at work, then, we come home and we spend time with the family and have a meal together, maybe share a glass of wine, just kind of talk about how things are. Um, then you got to get to bed early. I mean, that's just for me personally. I used to stay up a bit later, but now I go to bed earlier because, I still try to find 6 to 8 hours of sleep because I think it helps, especially as we get a little bit older. I just find if I go for a few days and I don't sleep well, it's really hard. Then it's hard for me to get up and feel energized. It's hard at lunchtime to say how I'm going to go work out because I'm dragging. So yeah, I think that we do have to set priorities. We have to plan, have to set goals, and we have to have priorities. What's important to us, right? If we say it's important to eat healthy, but then every day we're going and getting a Big Mac and large fries, something's not congruent there. We're saying one thing, but we're living different. And so, or, if we say it's important for us to be healthy, but then we don't ever exercise, it's probably not going to happen, right? Especially this life that we live. So I just think that, and a lot of it is just a balance, but it is really, I think, structuring our day so that we make time for the things that we say are important. If for me, I want to be involved in my grandkids' life, and so I'm going to talk to them on FaceTime. Well, so a day or two ahead of time, I need to say, when are we going to talk on FaceTime? This Saturday or Sunday? What time works for you? So I got 2 granddaughters in Cheyenne. I got 2 in Texas doing different things. So, again, if you don't plan ahead, it just won't happen, right? Because the weekend will end and you'll be like, oh, never got together with them. Oh, well. But if I make it a priority, somehow I might not be able to do it all the time. But if I know it's a priority, then I'm at least going to probably do it 90% of the time. So I just think it's prioritizing, planning, and structuring. And doesn't mean that things aren't going to come up. And you may have to let some of those things go, and that's okay. A week may go by and you didn't exercise as much as you wanted to. You didn't get up and spend time doing spiritual as you wanted to, whatever. But so then do you say, well, I'm a failure, so then I just give up and I'm never going to do it? No, I mean, for me personally, then I would just say, all right, well, next week I got to get back on target. I got to do better. I let these things distract me. And life is going to happen that way sometimes, but we just got to get restructured again.
Right. Very good points, John. So we have priorities, but what is the inner drive that trigger into your mind and tells you that I want to do this today? I want to do workout. I want to go for skiing. And what internally drives you?
Oh, wow. That's interesting. Well, we're all different personalities for sure. I'm definitely a type A, and I think I got that from my mom. And, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, but I also know that there can be some downsides to that too. So, how do you find that balance, right? Because, sometimes you can become obsessive about something because you are type A and you pursue something maybe too hard. So over time, I like to think I've got a little more wisdom now about, okay, here's my plan for this week. I'm going to exercise 3 times this week or 4 or whatever it is. And I'm going to push my workouts a little harder. But maybe I wake up Monday and I'm feeling a little off. So you have to adjust, maybe you only don't exercise quite as much. Maybe you go easier, but you have to be willing to accept that. Maybe when I was younger, I wasn't as willing to accept it because I'm like, I got to stick to the plan. I've got to do this, this, and this. But now I say, well, okay, it's okay. I'll cut back a little bit. That's fine. I mean, it's not a big deal. Same thing happens in work sometimes. You have a plan for the week of how you're going to get things done. And I'm going to make good progress on these 3 key issues. Something comes up, maybe you only really make progress on one. That's okay. You just have to say, all right, well, next week, hopefully it'll be better. Maybe I can make a little more progress. But, so it's good to be passionate, be driven. And, and I think I am those things, but I think also has to be a balance, and you have to be okay when obstacles come up, things happen. We talked about COVID. It's one of the biggest obstacles we face in our lifetime, right? We had to make different plans. We had to learn to live differently. We had to be more careful about where we went, what we did. So, what do? I mean, do you sit there and go, okay, well, this whole next year, I'm not going to hardly do anything. I'm going to stop exercising, and, I'm not going to be as passionate because of the staying COVID thing. No, you just say, okay, well, let's find other ways to, I can't travel as much. Maybe I have to watch a Netflix video that takes a trip around some country because I'm not going to actually be able to fly there. So I'll just have to do it virtually, and that's okay too, and I mean, I think we learn to adjust, right? And, and I think there's wisdom in learning that, it's okay. Life is going to change. And maybe I wasn't as patient when I was younger, but I think as time has gone along, I've learned, kids teach you patience, right? Trials in life teach you patience. At least that's what you hope they teach you, because you're either going to become better or bitter. And I would like to think I'm going to choose to be better, right? I'm not going to let something just totally get me all frustrated and then say, all right, well, the heck with it. So I just think, I think that some of the drive is just a natural thing, at least for me. I've just always been that way. I don't know. Maybe that's something you can learn. Maybe you can read books about it. Maybe other people rub off on you. But for me personally, I'm just kind of naturally driven and high energy. But then that can be a bad thing too. So you have to find a balance,
All right. With that note, I would like to thank you, John, for sharing your views with my viewers.
Hobbies challenge you to learn new things, keep you interested, and bring variety to life. You need planning to balance your work, family, and hobbies. If you want to make your hobbies your profession, keep trying, but at the same time, be realistic. Don't think that you do not have a hobby. You can find one that keeps you busy and interested. By prioritizing, planning, and structuring your day, you can find time to pursue as many hobbies as you want.